That's right. Never interrupt the theme song. Except with video silliness. You poor podcast listeners, you're missing out on all this video silliness.
Yes.
But we love you. We're so proud to be a podcast now. Well, happy Sunday, friends, lovers, and welcome to 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. So we're going to do the big opening now that we're officially a
5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
That's right.
Syndicated in all the stations
all
and
the
channels
stations,
all around the world.
All over the internet as far as it reaches.
Yes.
To Mars or at least New Zealand. Hi, friends and lovers.
Hi, I'm Amy.
This is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2020, and with me is Amy Nasir. And this is the 222nd day of 2020.
222nd day of 2020.
Yeah, there's 144 days left in this
We can
delightful
do this.
year.
We can do this. We see the end of the tunnel. We're going to do it.
We're doing it. We're doing it right now. And you are doing it with us.
You can watch that second, tick by on your clock.
That sounds ominous. The ominous circle. And that means there are 138 days left until Christmas and just 83 days left until Halloween.
Nice.
If you haven't gotten in on Amy's Halloween madness, send her a note on Facebook.
Yes, send me a note on Facebook, and we can trade Halloween baskets.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. And on this date, August 9th, what on earth happened on this date? Well, first of all, happy 43rd birthday to Audrey Tautou.
Oh, Audrey.
Or as Americans say, Audrey Tautou.
Audrey Tautou?
Tautou.
Something
Yes,
like
happy
that.
43rd birthday to Audrey Tautou.
Yeah, I need to cut my hair a little shorter for that, for the Audrey Tautou.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I could speak French, you would hear all four of the vowels in tutu. Instead, it just sounds like an American guy talking about a tutu.
Yeah.
But seriously, happy 43rd birthday to Audrey Tautou, who we will talk about shortly. But also, it's National Book Lovers Day.
Oh, that's a good day.
It is a good day.
This is a good day to live.
So this podcast, we're going to spend the whole show trying to decide, are audiobooks really books? Can you really say, I read Les Miserables, if all you did was listen to the audiobook? Just kidding. That we're not really going to talk about that. We'll talk about that on Facebook, because that deserves a written knockdown dragout.
It's a highfalutin subject.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm a firm believer that audiobooks are books on even-numbered days, and they're absolutely not books on odd-numbered days. So that's where I stand. And finally, on this date, August 9th, but back in 1854...
1854? Were people alive back then?
What would you be doing in the middle of the Civil War? How about releasing Walden? That's what you do if you're Henry David Thoreau.
Oh, a book. It sounds like he released something, like some sort of wild animal.
Yeah, he released something. So, 1854, Henry David Thoreau released Walden, or A Life in the Woods. He went and spent 2 years in the woods and released this book.
Did he?
And it's interesting, when I was in school, and maybe this is still true, in high school, kids were often assigned to this book to read, along with, Catcher in the Rye and Lord of the Flies and all those delightful books. I got lucky. I had a teacher who gave us an optional set one semester. We could pick from 3, and one of them was The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad.
And that was a good antidote to Lord of the Flies. It was a good antidote to all of that stuff they made us read. I hardly remember Catcher in the Rye, but anyway.
Yeah, whatever that's about.
August 9th, 1854, Henry David Thoreau releases Walden, or A Life in the Woods. And originally, for this show, this August 9th show, I was going to discuss that book in my constant attempts to find the kernel of truth in Well-Loved Woo. But I couldn't do it.
Well-Loved Woo, as in?
As in the kind of hooey that a lot of people believe, even though it's hooey.
Right.
And you want to find, well, why do people believe that? And if there's something good in it, they can get out and then leave the nonsense behind. Well, I couldn't do it with Walden. I tried. But I got maybe 20 pages in and I found myself skimming and getting more and more outraged at this assault on civilization, and particularly in capitalism. Assault on capitalism. His railing against factories and the lives of the factory worker. And there are things to protest in 1854 in the way in which industrial civilization is playing out.
Well, we were getting into a new game, something that we've never tried before.
And you look at factory life in London, England, and it's hard to not be sympathetic. But especially in our day and age, whether it's when I was in high school or now in 2020, for people to still say that, oh yeah, Walden makes an important point about life in modern society, knowing what capitalism has done to get the kids out of the fields and eventually out of the factories and into schools and leading the kind of prosperous lives that are available to people now. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do an episode of the podcast on Walden. I kept coming back to Steven Pinker and Enlightenment Now and the Better Angels of Our Nature and how everything, and I mean everything across nearly every dimension, is better now than it's ever been in the history of ever. And I couldn't do it. So I made the executive decision, even after I told Amy, yeah, we're going to talk about Walden, we're going to talk about Steven Pinker. No, I made the executive decision, which I get to do. We're going to do a movie night.
Movie night.
Now,
get your popcorn.
A lesser show host, a lesser executive would have said, let's do an AMA.
And what's an AMA?
It's not the American Medical Association. It's an Ask Me Anything episode.
Oh, right.
So we would call on all of our commenters and all the people calling us on the phones to ask us anything, and we would, or if you're not going to call it an Ask Me Anything episode, you can do what's called a random show or a random episode, which is really just a way of saying, So if we're not going to do AMAs, we're not going to do random show. We would not do that to you. We've got patrons. We've got people paying money for this show.
But are we ever going to play doctor?
We are going to play doctor. Not on the show, but not that kind of AMA.
We're going to pretend we're part of the AMA.
So no, we won't do that. We will instead have movie night. It's movie night. That's right. It's movie night on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir. But when we have movie night, it's not just let's talk about movies.
This is weird. This is the night where Robert and I are going to be spending the next 5 hours with you reenacting all of our favorite scenes of our favorite movies. No.
That would be awesome.
That would be fun.
But I have not actually prepped enough notes for that. So not going to happen. Okay. Real quick, since I always say, here's something you should listen to, the podcast of the week is Penn's Sunday School.
This is Penn Sunday School.
Yes.
La 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 la.
Yeah, they actually have a hymn. It's very cool. And it gets kind of rock and roll, but it starts out as they based it on an original, an actual church hymn. If you're not already listening to Penn Sunday School, just like this episode, it's light. It's fun. It's a little fluffy.
Yes.
If you know Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller, you know him from his television shows, his magic acts. We've actually seen him in Vegas. Very cool if you get that opportunity, if they ever open things up again.
He met us and he's like, you're one of those Ayn Rand people, aren't you?
He loved that about us.
He did.
He did. I mean, he's a hugger, too. He meets 100 people after every show, and he talks to every one of them. Yeah. And it's part of his ethic. So when you listen to the show, you'll get that from him. He's outrageous, but he's also a big teddy bear, except he's not that big anymore.
No.
Because he dropped 100 pounds.
Yeah, he saved his life.
Read his book.
He saved his life.
Presto.
Yeah. By going vegan, by doing Joel Furman, Ray Cronice vegan.
Oh, you can't do that. You have to go all meat.
What?
Only paleo works.
Yeah, right.
Well, paleo people say that's the only thing that works.
Oh my gosh.
Penn Jillette is a myth.
I wish I could love meat that much.
Penn Jillette's probably eating, steaks and not telling anyone.
No, he's not, actually.
So for the podcast of the week, we're keeping it light. Go listen to Penn's Sunday School.
Yeah.
Well, this whole page is about Walden, so we can throw that out. and get to movies that really matter. Books that really matter. Things that you should read and things that you should watch.
Was there ever a movie done of
Walden? I don't know the answer to that. There were a lot of books and stories and things written based on Walden, and those could have been made into movies, but I'm not aware. One of our commenters will tell us.
There's On Walden Pond.
On Walden Pond. I don't know. Was On Golden Pond at all related? I don't even remember the film. I'm sure I saw it, and I'm sure I don't remember it at all. The Fonda father and son team in that movie, great actors, although a lot of us still find it hard to watch Jane Fonda do anything these days.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about politics on this show much.
Not too much.
That's right. So recently, a meme got passed around on social media. 10 movies that had an impact. Mm-hmm. As usual, I didn't follow any of the rules, like not commenting on them. Of course, I commented on them. Or you have to nominate somebody else to keep spreading the meme. I'm like, no, you want to do this? You do this. You do the thing. But I did do 10 movies that had an impact on me.
Yes.
And I'm not going to talk about every one of them, but a couple of them need to be mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Since it is Audrey Tautou's birthday, I actually intentionally left Amélie off of the list.
Oh,
and
okay,
for two reasons.
You're talking about it anyway.
But I'm going to talk about it now. No, that's why I'm talking about it now. I'm taking advantage of movie night on 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
Yes.
To mention Amélie, because it's a must-see film.
It is.
But only if you are open to
whimsy.
Adult whimsy.
Yes.
It's not super adult, but if you're super sensitive to adult themes, mm-hmm. I've recommended the film and had somebody not like the film, and that was one of the reasons. So, very clever, very whimsical, stylized to the nth degree.
Just so
too
beautiful.
Extremely. If you don't like extreme stylization, you might not like the aesthetic of the film. But it is charming. It's clever.
It's heartfelt.
It's heartwarming. It's beautifully done.
Yep.
It's a great film if you've spent any of your life as a bit of an outsider, which in our circle, we have a few of those folks.
Sure.
We are a few of those folks. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen Amélie, you must see that film.
Yeah.
Yes.
So before we go on, we've got Rob. Hey there, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk about Monica Bellucci movies.
Rob will always say the answer to anything I post, he's going to put up a picture of Monica Bellucci, and it's always a good answer. But I have to admit, I've never seen a Monica Bellucci film.
Oh, I can put it on right now.
Put one. We'll put it right up on the screen here. We'll get the little camera thing going,
she's an Italian actress. Okay.
Yeah, well, she's also a model, as you can tell.
Nice. All right. And then we have. I just want to say shout out to Arjun.
Arjun, how are you doing?
How are you doing? Everything is well, by the way. We're both in good health, and we are just working hard. Oh, Jim says, I think it would be neat to have everybody post a comment saying what their favorite movie of all time is.
Excellent.
Not necessarily what they think is the best movie they've ever seen. I can see those comments.
Yeah, he's not watching live, but he's commenting. Excellent.
Yeah,
and by all means, yes,
hi, Mike.
comment your favorite films.
Mike N is chiming in.
Oh, always good to hear from Mike.
Yes. Awesome.
One of our Glow buddies, even though I know he's got a busy life.
It's hard to
hasn't made a lot of meetings. Although we haven't had any in-person meetings for the last 4 months. We're just gonna meet in the backyard.
Sad.
We'll put the X's on the lawn or on the concrete like they do in the stores, 6 feet apart, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Well, we did that last night without the X's.
Well,
we can make
5
it happen.
People though. So.
Well, so you just spread them out. Space them out. So definitely go see Amélie. Anybody who saw my Facebook thread saw the other 10 films that were on the list. The Sting. We talked about Serendipity last time. Cyrano de Bergerac. If you're going to see Cyrano de Bergerac, I'm prejudiced. The 1950 production with Jose Ferrer is the one to see.
Yes.
There have been more recent productions. There have even been arguably more passionate productions. But to me, the Brian Hooker translation of the play is the translation, and no other performance is as faithful to that translation as Jose Ferrer in 1950. Although it is startling, I had seen the film before I read the play. And the film is an adaptation. When you read the play, like, oh, that makes much more sense than it did in the movie. So, the play is the thing. I've heard that before. The play is the thing. Who said that? And the movie is nonetheless outstanding. Jose Ferrer, 1950. For you youngsters, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
Don't let that throw you after 5-10 minutes. You're not even thinking about it.
You just have to kind of imagine it, the color. You just have to kind of, project with your mind.
I don't know if somebody did a colorized version of that.
I don't think so.
But even if they did, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it.
No.
There's a quirkiness to colorized movies, a weirdness that's just...
It is.
You look at things and you're like, I wonder if they got that at all right.
Right, it's distracting.
Yeah. Number 4, Victor Victoria. Oh my gosh. Robert Preston, Julie Andrews. What a great movie. Great fun, very lighthearted, and because it's dealing with issues of cross-dressing and homosexuality and burlesque and things that were edgy in the 1970s and are unfortunately just as edgy but in different ways now in 2020, it's so good to see such a, what I would call lighthearted and gentle and yet hilarious approach. Victor Victoria is another must-see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer, she mentions the movie Harvey, which I don't know that we've actually seen. Is that with Jimmy Stewart?
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
I have not seen that, and it's funny, as bunny lovers, you'd think we would. I'm aware of the theme, but I have not seen it.
Yeah, we like imaginary bunnies, but not quite that way. But
I don't know it. I don't know if it's not quite in that way because we haven't seen it.
Yeah.
It might turn out to be exactly our thing.
That's good. So we will take a look at that.
It's
Thank
certainly
you, Jennifer.
possible.
Oh, and Rob, so if you're on the Facebook chat here, Rob posts an introduction to the actress that he really
Monica
loves.
Bellucci and Malena.
So you can
which
check
I
it
haven't
out
seen
there.
either, but there we go. Now we're going to get a list of films to watch here. Thank you for that.
This is great. Yes, please post the films that you like. Even if you're thinking, well, that's not, I don't know what my favorite movie is, because I couldn't say what my favorite movie is of all time. So just post something you like, that you really like.
Well, yeah, I would never say what my favorite movie is of all time because, it's probably listed as an answer to one of my credit card security questions or something.
It is?
But it's probably one of the 11 here that I'm mentioning here. The 10 plus 1.
So all you hackers out there,
Hackers,
listen up.
take note. It could be Babe. That movie with the pig. It's funny, I've got Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin is on my list, and so it would seem like there's 2 kids' movies.
Yeah.
Babe is not a kids' movie. It's a movie that kids could watch. It'd be a great movie for kids to watch.
Yes.
It's not a kids' movie.
No, it's
not a kids' movie at all. If you're like, what, talking pig movie? It's not a talking pig movie.
No, it's not. It's actually, I have a list of movies that I most enjoy in front of me right now, and it's on that list, and it's on there because of the music.
The music is fantastic. The soundtrack is lovely. The songwriting is beautiful. And the primary theme of the film was taken from classical music.
Yeah. If you don't know Camille Saint-Saëns, the French composer from the 1800s, look him up. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
Yes. Pretty Woman's on there, which I talked about online, why that is not just your average Gary Marshall film, but is actually a great movie. Aladdin, Stop Making Sense, the greatest concert film of all time.
Yes.
People who love, the band The Last Waltz or George Harrison's tribute film, Concert for George. A lot of other contenders for number 1. Stop Making Sense to me is just, it's the perfect combination of music and performance.
Yes. And it's so very creative, and on top of that, it really puts you in a great mood. And it's not just the talking heads. It's not just the four of them. You've got all of these other folks up on stage.
Yeah,
playing.
This was the extended band. They had 9 people touring with them at that point.
You have these 2 really lovely African American ladies. I think they're American. I'm not entirely sure, but they're just the spark of life. You could just watch the film just for them. They're dancing and they're singing, and their joie de vivre is so wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. The 5 musicians who joined the 4 core members are extraordinary. And David Byrne was the leader of the band, was that kind of musician where he simply brought in the best talent he could.
Yes.
To work with them. They're all African American, which just brought in an element. You'd have to see it to see what I mean.
Have
it's
to
like,
see it.
oh, you think white people couldn't play? No, white people couldn't play like that. They couldn't sing like that.
Not really.
It just wasn't going to happen. Watch the movie.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Jennifer says Harvey is not about bunnies in the same way that Babe is not about pigs.
Good.
Very good.
And that's my impression too. Is it's not a bunny movie. That's not what it's about.
And Rob mentions Vitus, which is a movie, Vitus. Never heard of it before. So
heard of it, haven't seen it.
He constantly recommends it. He says, "Yes, I am stubborn."
Good.
Oh, and Rebecca mentions Farmer Hoggett from Babe. His dance scene is one of my favorite movie scenes of all time.
Oh,
that's magic.
You just think about it and it gets you.
I know, it gives you chills and makes you want to cry, and also makes you want to get up and scream and sing and dance.
Dance, yeah.
Yes.
And not just dance. Makes me think of what was the kind of dancing that Adam Wildalski did at GlowCon?
It was kind of a variation of tap. It was sort of like tap clogging dance. It was
like
sort
a
of
clog
like
dance. Extraordinary
Southern,
stuff.
Appalachian
just a whole different
clogging.
thing. Not the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. Number 10 film, which I wrapped up with, was Chocolat.
Chocolat.
Did we mention that on the podcast? If we haven't, we should have.
Yes.
Chocolat is a must-see film.
It is.
It is another fable, so it has that in common with some of these other films.
Mm-hmm.
And the lessons of Chocolat mirror much of the lessons of the last 22 episodes of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that values matter.
Yep.
Values are primary.
Yes.
Threats to your values have to be addressed, but then set aside.
Yeah.
Life is for living.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Chocolat is, my goodness, there's so many lines of redemption in that film. So much beauty, so much overcoming, so much, and the very, very end, there's such a theme of non-sacrifice in that. And
it is. The redemption stories, and you're right, most of the stories are redemption stories, but most of them are not redemption for evil. Mm-hmm. They're simply reclaiming one's own values, whether from, in some cases, bad relationships, or in other cases, just false premises one has carried over the years.
Yes.
Yes. And as I've mentioned before, I love a good redemption story.
Yeah.
It's why some really absurd films are on my top favorites list.
What, like Drop Dead Fred?
Like Drop Dead Fred. How could you have this ridiculous movie of an imaginary friend, but a gross out kind of imaginary friend?
He's the best.
And yet...
rest in peace, Rick Mail. What an extraordinary actor. So funny. And Carrie Fisher's in that film, by the way, if anybody's a Carrie Fisher fan, and a Phoebe Cates is in that film. Mm-hmm. It is a wild film that most people will not like, but
I'll never recommend that film unless I know somebody has that particular sensibility. Not just that they would enjoy it, because a lot of people like silly, gross-out films, but would like it for the right reasons.
Yes. It has, I should say this, it has a lot of heart.
It does.
It really does.
I love any story where somebody rediscovers their own values from their youth.
Yes.
And reclaims their... what's the word I'm looking for? Not self-control. Agency.
Right. Or the
reclaims their agency.
The sense of themselves. Yeah.
Well, not just their sense of themselves, but takes control.
Right.
It's a tough film to recommend, but if you like quirky,
Drop Dead Fred. If you like quirky and weird,
that one just might work for you.
With some heart.
Yeah. Well, and there are comedies we could recommend in that category.
Yes.
So films that didn't make my list just because I had to limit to 10 would be, This Is Spinal Tap.
Yes.
For all the rock and rollers out there, if you have not yet seen This Is Spinal Tap, if you like rock music, it's a film to see. It's another Rob Reiner film.
Yeah.
And of course, The Princess Bride belongs on any
True.
At least top 20, 25 list.
But yeah, there's a category of film that I find that I will watch maybe, a dozen times, and then I'm like, I can't watch it again because I may fall asleep. But you watched it so much that you know all of the movie lines, and they come up in your life, and you say them to your friend or your partner, and it's like it's reliving a very, very funny scene, and it really puts a smile on my face. So it's memory recall movies, I guess you could say.
So what's a film you love, but you've watched it so many times you can't really watch it?
Oh, jeez.
I feel like for example, we've kind of memorized Ninochka and Queen Christina.
Yes. Yes.
We've seen it so many times, and it's wonderful, but we really know it inside out.
We do.
Both of them. Zoolander would be one like that.
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness.
Yes. But that's actually another category. I have categories listed.
So what are your
here.
categories?
My categories are French, black and white, zany, like to the point of being not politically correct at all, and John Cusack is also a category.
He's a whole category in himself.
Getting the bad guy movies, that includes like Rio Bravo and all the Dirty Harry movies. Oh, I love Clint Eastwood. Oh my goodness. Then you've got kind of story tale sort of thing, Enchanted and Babe. But Babe actually falls in two categories of music and kind of fairy tale. But that also goes along with Whiplash, Searching for Sugar Man.
Oh, yeah.
Army of course, Stop Making Sense. And then I've got my Halloween ones, which are Army of Darkness, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original movie, which I know that Josh Whedon hates, but we love. We love it.
Oh, there's an argument.
There's
is
something.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer the series or the movie better?
Most people will say the series,
including the creator,
that they like better, but we love the movie.
We need to try to get into the series again.
Maybe
we tried a couple times, and it's just like this doesn't.
I
don't get it.
It doesn't
I don't
have
understand.
Christy Swanson or Luke Perry in it,
and I don't see the charm. I don't see what's
it doesn't have
interesting or
Paul
fun
Rubin
about
in it.
Or Rutger Hauer. I mean, star
Howard.
Power. Donald Sutherland.
I know, Donald Sutherland. He's in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie.
Oh, he's great.
And he's so good. And then there's the Lost Skeleton of Cadavra.
The Lost Skeleton of Cadavra.
Yes.
Do you put that on your Halloween films? Army of Darkness, Young Frankenstein.
And Young Frankenstein. So those are the four: Army of Darkness, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, and Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, I've mentioned Young Frankenstein before when I said I don't quite get the Mel Brooks films that people like. I mean, Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles are just, they're up here and everything else is pretty good. And people will say, oh, watch Spaceballs. And I'm like, I haven't been able to get through that yet.
Well,
it's just,
I've watched Spaceballs. It's not so bad.
Maybe you need to take me through it.
But actually, I like, in terms of that, I like
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
No, Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Galaxy Quest, by the way, is a
Galaxy Quest is strange.
It's very, very strange.
Because it starts off kind of, you watch it and you're like, this isn't a very good movie. No, it's really not. Even the acting isn't great. And you've got A-list actors. Just an amazing cast in this movie. And you're like, yeah, okay, I kind of get what they're doing. And by the end of the film, all of a sudden you know why you've got people like Sigourney Weaver in this film. You know why you've got these
Alan
Rickman in the film playing this ridiculous role. But by the end of the film, now you know, this is why this movie works.
Yes.
They've got these great actors
so good.
And this clever twist.
Yep.
That, again, just going in, it's like, it's kind of dumb. Great movie, Galaxy Quest. So See that movie.
Yes. Well, should we turn to the comments here real quick?
What do we got?
We have, let's see here. So Linda of Quent Cordair Fine Art.
Quent Cordair Fine Art at Cordair.com.
Cordair.com. She says, I highly recommend Jean de Floret and Menon de Sauce, starring Gerard Depardieu. Okay, so these are two different movies. One is called Jean de Floret and Menon de Sauce, if I'm saying that correctly in French.
Fortunately, you know how to pronounce that.
I do. I know French.
These are ones we'll have to look up later.
Thank you, Linda. And Jennifer recommends the original animated Charlotte's Web, which I haven't seen since.
I don't remember it.
When.
I remember liking it as a kid, and I don't even remember why, so we'll have to watch it again.
Speaking of Charlotte's Web, we actually have a little spider in our that Robert hates, but whom I love and I cherish.
I don't hate it. I just have to remember not to kill it.
So, Mademoiselle Spooter is her name, and she lives in our bathroom. And
what do you do when your wife, when your soulmate, when the woman you cherish decides that a spider in your house is sacrosanct, is a pet, is not to be given the default reaction of this spider sleeps with the fishes now?
I've had many conversations with it. It seems quite to be a reasonable spider, so it's not going to, do anything bad to us or anything like that or freak us out. It just hangs out in the corner and just does its spider thing. So it's good. It's cool.
So I haven't seen Charlotte's Web since I was a kid, but maybe seeing that movie will give me a greater appreciation for Spooter, Mademoiselle Spooter, who lives in the upstairs washroom. I still get to 86 any of them that I find in the downstairs washroom.
Yes, you do. That is fair game in the basement.
And in this house, that's my washroom. So it's cool.
Area there. But that's what the quarantine will do to you. You want more company, and you just have to get it where you can find it.
Well, as long as the ones in Studio Nasir don't have to be spared, I'm good with that.
So I want to teach our Mademoiselle Spooter how to, spell out words like philosophical statements
in her web.
In her web.
That's great.
Like metaphysically, the only authority is reality. Epistemologically, one's own mind. The first is the ultimate arbiter of the second. Like that. That would be really cool. Incidentally,
the downstairs washroom, for people who've recorded singles and albums in Studio Nasir, they also know that as the vocal booth. Remember, that's where the audio electronics run to the washroom.
That's right. Robert has actually engineered and produced an album in our basement.
Oh, several.
Yeah. So he knows.
Both of the Nick Ives and the 222s albums were done there. Ron Toole and the Capitalists singles, He Who Must Die.
Yes. It's
Mark
fun.
Garney's song, A Good Wife. Mm-hmm. A lot of songs have been recorded in Studio Nasir.
Yes. So we should apply for historical landmark status for our home.
Tax deduction. Hell, there might be government money in it. There certainly is in everything else these days.
Government money. So easy to get nowadays.
Yeah, although I guess... No, I'm not going to get into the politics.
So
enough of that. What else we got?
So Rob says, I like Clint Eastwood's view of what makes for a great movie, a final reckoning.
A final reckoning. That's right. You gotta clear out the books at the end.
Yeah.
Make sure the columns match and
make sure you've got satisfaction at the end.
Never leave them hanging.
Right.
I don't expect Hollywood endings all the time, but don't leave things vague and fuzzy and floating.
Right. Mary Aline also mentions Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
Another beautiful Clint Eastwood creation. I loved that movie so very much.
It's one of those ones that's tough to watch more than once.
Yeah, it is tough to watch more than once.
It's intense.
It's intense. Woo! It's intense, but
you know what's coming.
It's really, really fantastic.
We won't say what's coming. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, go watch Gran Torino.
Yes. And on top of that, it was filmed just, 30 miles away from us?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's true. Motown. Rebecca, we have seen Blast from the Past.
Yes.
That was great fun. Whatever happened to Brendan Fraser?
Well, Brendan Fraser, actually, he kind of...
he got serious for a while, and then...
He got kind of burnt out.
Yeah.
And I think that there was some sort of traumatic experience he went through. And now I think that he lives, in Montana or some place like that. So he's with his family. He's living the life.
Doing what he wants.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah, and we are Bill Murray fans, but we haven't seen What About Bob yet.
No, I don't think we have.
No.
Oh, my goodness. So thank you, Rebecca. And yeah, Blast from the Past, fun movie. And Jennifer says, we have so many spiders, I can't name them all. So I'm assuming, Jennifer, you're not killing them, you're leaving them. Yeah, and I'm sure that Mademoiselle Spooter is a girl. I'm sure she is. And Linda says, why do we need PostIt notes when you have Mademoiselle Spooter?
Just take dictation while you're checking your makeup or anything else you might be doing in the washroom.
What we can do is we can ask her to do the PostIt note text in the web, and then we can take a picture of it.
Can't miss, can't fail. I'm sure that's going to work.
If you like whimsy, this is the podcast for you.
Especially this episode. So your homework for the week.
Oh, are we already at the homework part here?
Oh, did you have more to discuss?
Well, I just want to double check the comments.
It's not over yet. We still talk about the homework.
Oh, that's true.
But I thought you went through all the comments there.
No, there's still more. The people are commenting.
It's funny that Rob says your accent and the use of the word washroom very Canadian-esque. I intentionally
washroom
call it the washroom.
Yeah.
Powder room. Anything but the John or the bathroom.
I call it the restroom.
The restroom. I'm good with restroom. I'm good with washroom. I'm good with powder room. I'm good with the head.
You could be French and you could say les toilettes.
Les toilettes. Of course, I say everything French wrong. The way she says it is the right way.
I could say wash, which is another way to say wash.
Mm-hmm.
Washroom.
It's in my secrets for how to get any woman you want in your life. Never say bathroom.
Oh, is that like too pedestrian or
it's
too...
way too pedestrian.
Yeah.
It's
just not fancy enough.
It sounds like tidy whities. It sounds like BVDs. It's just it's such a guy thing. And chicks don't dig that. Trust me, man. See, I know how to talk to women.
If you're trying to get a woman out there anywhere, any of you guys out there, and if you're wearing white underwear, switch to colored or nice, masculine colored underwear. It'll help. Trust me.
Do they still sell white briefs?
I think they probably do.
Yeah. Anyway.
Mike says I had one spider named Herkimer. Wow, it's like Hercules, but a little different. And
very cool.
And then Rebecca says, for more serious movies, ahead first off the top of my head, A Man for All Seasons,
which we've had recommended.
Yep, and the Sweet.
It's on our list. To-do list.
The Sweet Hereafter.
The Sweet Hereafter, I haven't heard of. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll have to look. Thank you so much, guys. No, because we're always looking for new content.
Yes. So, your homework for the week.
Yeah.
She's not going to let me do this.
Okay.
No, she is.
I am. Oh, I'm not going to say this one.
No, don't say it. See, Amy wants to read every comment, and
I won't mention the last comment that Jennifer made, but it's very cute.
She won't mention it, but she'll mention that she won't mention it so that everybody will take a look.
I'll just say he's a lucky man. to have you. So, cheers, Jennifer.
True dat. I knew that even before reading that comment. So your homework for the week is to review the list of movies offered. Now, I have included, not in my show notes, but in the thread, maybe I'll add it to the notes too, or at least a link to it, another much longer list of movies that I'm actually using as a reference as we decide additional things to watch during these sequestered times. Although we've been going out more and more, at some point you just figure out how to make that work. But
Yeah.
Yaron Brook's list of recommended movies and television shows is a good one to work through. There's a link to his show in which he discusses all the movies and television shows he recommends for people who are having to spend a lot of time at home.
Yeah.
So I will post that list. I will post that link so you can actually watch that episode of the Yaron Brook show and decide for yourself. And it's more fun to hear him talk about them than just give you a long list. But it's a handy reference.
Yes.
So there is that. Your homework, though, is to go through our list, and his if you want,
Yeah.
and pick a movie or two that you want to watch.
That's right.
My recommendations are on my Facebook wall, and whether you're a friend of Robert Nasir on Facebook or not, my posts are all public, with few rare exceptions.
Well, we can add all of this stuff to the show notes, right?
We can add anything we want to the show notes.
So we shall do that.
The producers of this show will not stop us from doing that.
Robert will not stop himself. Be like... For those listening on audio, I was being silly. Okay.
So, our PostIt Note for the week goes back to the original show topic. The original show topic was going to be Walden.
Ooh, so exciting.
And then it was going to be Steven Pinker and the Better Angels of Our Nature.
That's a little better.
And Enlightenment Now. And how freedom leads to progress.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, because the definition of capitalism is not just pro-big business, but political economic freedom, the separation of state and economics.
Yep.
Actual free markets. Not free markets where the government throws money at business or anyone else, but just where you separate state and economics. It stands to reason that things have gotten better and better over the course of time, and yet haven't gotten as much better as they should have. So to make sense of Enlightenment Now, to make sense of the Better Angels of Our Nature, to make sense of The Rational Optimist, all of the books in that tradition, that connection, when you talk about capitalism, needs to be made. It's not about, I'm pro-business, which is an effect. It's about freedom and liberty. And yet, it's not about freedom and liberty, which is the effect, but respect for the rational faculty, which is the function of an individual mind.
Yes, respect for your creativity, respect for all the things that you can produce using your capacity for reason and thought.
Every single value that we produce, other than an apple falling by chance out of a free tree and into our mouth, comes from the functioning of somebody's rational faculty, somebody's mind, somebody's ability to look out in the world and say, oh, that is what it is, and here's what I'm going to do with it. So that's why we're pro-capitalist on this show. Because we don't mean by pro-capitalist, the government's in bed with business. What we mean is, let people act on their own best judgment.
Yeah.
And that all rests on the rational faculty as the function of the individual. And that rests on the fact that man is what he is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And that's why the PostIt Note for the week says, A is A.
It's a very long
explanation for why that was the PostIt Note of the week. But it really grew out of my response to reading Walden.
Which, I mean, you can talk about a little bit more in the future.
Well, the reason we didn't do that as the whole show, the reason we did movie night, is because once I started putting it together, I realized I can't do this without spending a week or two going through this book, getting over all my nausea and anger, and then
just
picking
read the
out
notes.
because there. And once I gave up on the book, I even tried going through, Cliff Notes and quotes by Thoreau, because there's some great stuff in there about living the examined life, and he didn't want to get to the end of the life and realize that he never really, embraced his true capabilities, and a lot of that sounds like something we might say, but in context, it's just horrible. So, A is A. I have a second version of that, which is, it is what it is. Hey, A is A. It is what it is, right?
Which isn't the best quote, considering who our president is right now.
Well, I have a third version here.
Oh.
Which says, what isness? Do you remember what isness?
I don't. What isness? What isness came from our episode in which we talked about Kevin Hart's book, The Decision. Oh, that's right.
And it was his out of the 15 weapons he listed, number 2 was, what isness? And the whole idea is accepting what is.
Yes.
Put that first. That's primary. Accept the facts first.
Yeah.
And then finally, the 2020 version of this, which says,
you do you.
You do you.
Nice.
You act on your own rational best judgment.
Right. And you learn from yourself.
I know a lot of people take you do you as complete subjectivism. Okay, if that's how you take it, don't do you. But seriously, you do you. You live your values.
Yes.
You follow your own best rational judgment.
Yes. You need to figure it out for yourself. You do you. Yep.
So that's why my Post-it note of the week is A is A. Or what isness. Or you do you.
Yes.
So I will have that on my bathroom mirror. That will be the downstairs bathroom where the spiders are killed, if they're ever found. And not the upstairs bathroom where Mademoiselle Spooter lives.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to count on all of you to do the exact same thing, except for the spider part.
Not unless you want to. Not unless you need that company in your house that you're cooped up in because of quarantine.
Oh, Dale says he's within biking distance of Lake Walden.
Oh, cool.
Is Lake Walden Pond? Was that...
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's the same Walden.
Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for everybody who posted the movies that they love.
I thought movie night would last about maybe 5 minutes, so this has been a good show.
Yes.
Before we let you go, although one person had to drop off, how dare you? I need to get that the proper Greta voice for that. How dare you? I can't do it.
You have to be a little bit more hysterical,
Yeah.
How dare you? Like that.
Well, that was good.
Yeah,
that was good. I think I've only ever seen that clip once or twice, but I think that was it.
Yeah, that's about it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for expressing the righteous indignation that I am feeling that anybody would drop off this show before 5 minutes are up. Reminders.
He's just joking.
Show notes for this episode will be online within, say, 5 minutes of the end of the episode.
Excellent.
Might take a little longer if Amy wants me to add more of her movie notes on there.
I'll send it to you.
Find those show notes listed with this episode on youtube.com/Robert Nasir or facebook.com/Robert Nasir, where you will also find all of the past episodes, all 23 of them. The show is now also available on your favorite podcast host, including Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the show financially, throw money.
Yes.
Just throw cash. Oh, wait, that doesn't work. Patreon. Patreon.com/Robert Nasir. Or message me on Facebook if you prefer a PayPal address. If you have any questions or comments, leave them on the 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir show page. There's a group page on Facebook where you can do that, or right on my Facebook wall, or in the YouTube comments. Although we didn't get any YouTube comments today. We have 100 comments on Facebook. Everybody loves Facebook. But we're going to work on that. So if you share the show, by all means, share the share the YouTube version, as we are working on getting our subscriber count up. And that would be awesome of each and every one of you as well.
So thank you all for joining us. This has been a lot of fun. A lot of movies to watch now. So,
well, with that said, unless there are any more questions, we would like to take this moment to wish you each success and flourishing, as we always do, and good movies. Watch some good movies.
Yes.
And we wish each of you personally, we wish you